So let's talk about some of our products. Sci-Fi Systems has been very focused on getting into the hydrocarbon extraction arena with some very innovative products that are meeting customer needs where they are now and not trying to address the market of yesterday. So one of these products that we've really been pushing forward and that John and our development team have been very actively developing is the RH-1 small-scale research hydrocarbon extractor. John, what was the inciting incident and the motivation to make an extractor that's so small?
You know, there was a hole in the market for a lab scale, bench scale hydrocarbon extractor that replicates the commercial scale units. Traditionally, people would do open blasting, or they may, which is dangerous, or they may have a very rudimentary single column, single collection pot system. And we wanted to create something that was easy to use for newcomers to extraction, especially those researchers in universities, which we're very happy they are now, able to work with these products and, study these processes and details that, to answer some questions out there for us, all of us processors. So yeah, fitting that university market, that was the initial goal, as well as giving operations not just like a training unit, but a unit that they can do test runs on to optimize their process in a more directly applicable way to their commercial scale. One aspect of the RH-1 is, we have, absorbent media column that you can play with different media blends, and that's important, as well as the overall safety of the unit itself and the way that it's designed.
When it comes down to a university research lab, they demand a high level of safety. They have to have usability and cleanability for the equipment, and they demand a ease of operation so that as they cycle students through the lab and they're retraining a new batch of students, maybe even as frequently as every semester on this equipment, they know that this can be replicate their SOPs in the lab, but also enable researchers in those labs to have a fine degree of control over the end product and have that product replicate what's actually being used in the consumer arena, in the consumer market for these products. Not only that, but also just having the ability to produce refined extracts that are not, broad spectrum in the sense of like, what would it be called, Phoenix tiers in the old days, or RSO, or whatever you want to call it, which unfortunately is where a lot of the research has been done up to this point with, medical or medicinal type cannabinoid research. So getting to a more representative product of what the consumers want, what medical market consumers currently use for their own medical needs. Sometimes they will use a very broad spectrum oil, like has been used for years and years, but many medical cannabis consumers are using a more refined type of hydrocarbon extract that we're only able to produce using these contemporary techniques of filtration, low temperature extraction, and very good replication of SOPs from batch to batch. So very exciting to bring those to a university market. But what about other cannabis labs? What about medical and recreational cannabis labs and even hemp labs out there? Does the RH-1, which only extracts 150 grams per batch, what place does that have in these other labs outside of universities?
It's great for small labs just starting out. The unit's designed to fit in your standard laboratory fume hood. So that's key. And then also, commercial scale processors, processing on much larger systems, there's the benefit to having a tiny extractor where they can not only dial in different process parameters for specific material, because every material is different and may require different degrees of color remediation or different changes in operating parameters to achieve a particular end product. So they're able to perform these test batches, so to say, on a smaller scale unit and replicate that very easily on their larger scale process, as well as in general, just being able to test batches of biomass, maybe even before purchase, because some contaminants in biomass may not show on the analysis of the biomass itself. And making a hydrocarbon extract as you would in production and testing that for these contaminants is useful, very useful.
Yeah, the phrase garbage in, garbage out has been used in the industry for a long time. Finding good feed material for your extracts is critical to producing high quality extracts for consumers and for ingredients. But up to this point, there's been no quality control extraction system that can be used to test small batches ahead of time. Really, people have just had to look at the flour, look at the COAs and say, well, I think this is going to produce something good. It smells good. It looks good. But then, boom, you get hit with something like a hot pesticide test, and you've already bought 1,000 pounds of some, trim material. Well, what are you going to do at that point? You either got to throw it out in some markets, you can't even use it at that point, or you got to go through some expensive pesticide remediation tech when up front, if you just had the opportunity to test it and to send it out for some analytical, you could have avoided thousands of dollars in purchasing cost up front that weren't going to yield you a high value product. So we think this is just a natural evolution of labs becoming more sophisticated in quality control, quality management systems, getting more sophisticated in these extraction operations. So RH-1, very exciting product. So from the small RH-1 doing 150 grams per run, we move on up to the HVH-50 on the large size of the industry. HVH-50 runs 50 pounds an hour dry weight or 100 plus pounds of fresh frozen weight per run. This is a very large system for extractors trying to do big toll work or meet the needs of large cultivators, large batches, or that just want to be one of the largest producers in their given state. What drove us to produce this type of large extractor, and where did this technology come from? How was it developed?
The ultimate push came from at a time when we noticed margins were getting tight and the cost of goods was becoming a very important factor in the success and longevity of these various hash operations in our state here in Oregon. And the HVH-50 was conceived out of a passion for making more hash faster at a lower cost of doing so, as well as to disprove a myth in the community that with scale we lose quality. And the HVH-50 busts that myth wide open, because you can produce quality at a large scale and at a low cost of operation.
The HH50 is a machine that's capable of all of the major operations used at any of the smaller scales, be it filtration, using both powdered media and granular media for midstream purification, low temperature extraction, low temperature solvent recovery at a higher rate, and all of that is built on a platform that keeps the cost of electricity down to an absolute minimum. Symphase takes two of the most intensive parts of the extraction process, chilling your solvent for extraction and heating your extract for solvent recovery, and interlinks those so that the waste heat from your chilling process is used to drive solvent recovery. This dramatically reduces the energy load of the extractor and allows us to gain some CapEx efficiency by reducing the complexity and the number of devices needed for the chilling and heating process. So we really made huge gains on the efficiency of the process, and we're able to drive a very large extractor, extracting 50 plus pounds an hour, using only 45 installed amps of 480 volt three-phase power. Now, that is a dramatic reduction of, as much as 60+% of what the typical energy usage would be for a system of equivalent size. Now, some people may say, well, what's the big deal with electricity? The big deal is every unit of electricity that you spend on production is a dramatic contribution to your total cost of goods. Every cent that we can take off of the cost of producing a gram of oil is another cent that you put into your profit margin, or that you're able to bring the cost of your product down to remain competitive in the market. And not only that, but the upfront savings of installing this equipment and reducing the total number of amps of power required in your facility can save thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars on installing fresh three-phase power into your facility. We've seen this time and time again, that new projects, building out new facilities, installing new power and bringing that power to the property is often one of the most expensive things to do in a new facility development. So we thought that was crucial to attack. John, talk to me about how SymPhase was developed and how long this has been in the works.
Well, SymPhase as the concept was developed, rather quickly, going on 3 years ago. With 710 Clancy, we, kitted out a prototype, and it's been 2.5 years of constant optimization of that prototype. I like to make the analogy to a hot rod car, and constantly seeking gains in performance, and which have ultimately resulted in gains in not only performance but process control as well. Our ability to do a lot with a little, while also achieving our heating and cooling, the core elements to a passive solvent extraction process, has been a fun endeavor, and is really something I'm excited to bring to market.
Well, a lot of people are saying, okay, this is all great, but 50 pounds an hour, I mean, that's not me, right? A lot of folks are just saying, when can I get my hands on this? But it's not going to be 50 pounds an hour. So what are our plans for the future?
Yeah, we're working on a mid-scale unit out there, the MVH-10 currently. Excited to, finish up the design process. It's going to retain, the key core functionalities that we brought onto the HVH-50 with SymPhase, but also in a smaller package for a smaller volume of extraction, while still, having the high recovery rate as well.
Yes, this is absolutely our priority. Bring this brand new technology to the appropriate scale for smaller markets, for mid-scale operators. We are in development of that product right now and focused on getting that first generation, first prototype unit in operation as soon as possible, and looking to have a product out there, by end of year or first quarter 2024. That said, if you are eager to get involved, we are also open to custom building extractors for operators that know exactly what they want and want to incorporate SymPhase into their extractor, but also even have other demands for flexibility, custom pieces of technology that they want to bring in themselves, or just physical arrangements of the device. We will do custom hands-on development work with you for your lab, and we're eager to do that and bring our brand new SymPhase technology to your lab. So please do reach out if you're interested.
Yeah, a custom project is in some ways easier than a already designed product. because when a customer has particular constraints that they have already defined and needs they've already defined, and they come to us with those, it's a lot easier to implement, our core technologies like Synphase to those needs. Because when trying to design a product that is going to be attractive and work for the largest number of operations and facilities, on the market, that takes a lot of time and a lot of pushing and pulling on the design to have to arrive at something that fits for the most, people.
And trying to please everybody is always tough, but meeting the constraints and demands of one specific client and making it perfect for their use case, that is something that we love. We love to get involved and figure out how to solve client problems and figure out how to solve client problems that they have in their labs running other systems. We can address basically all of the major problems of ergonomics, of energy constraints, of boosting throughput capacity in a limited footprint. These are things that we're already dealing with, and we've done intensive work with on the HVH-50 as well as the RH-1, and working hands-on with other extractors in the field, and we'd be glad to do that for your facility. So please do reach out at Sci-Fi Systems on any of the social media platforms, and sci-fi-systems.com. You can contact us there to make an inquiry. Thank you very much, John, for talking to me today about our hydrocarbon plans. Looking forward to catching up with you in the near future as we make more progress on membrane and other key technical innovations. Please, everybody, do like and subscribe down below. Hit the bell so that you get notifications for our future videos. We're going to be bringing out a lot of fresh content in the coming weeks, so we look forward to having you join us then. What do you have to say to the extractors out there, John Mark?
Hey guys, the margins are getting tight. It's important we use common sense in the approach to our operations if we want to keep doing what we love, which is making hash and making quality hash. And in order to do so, OpEx is extremely important for the longevity of your business, and it is possible to have quality at scale, high throughput while retaining quality. It's just not possible using, the technologies that have been used years prior.
Sage advice, and thank you everybody once again for joining us.